Hello everyone, my name is Raz, and today we're going to have a look at Solidworks for Makers. So if you go to discover.solidworks.com, you'll see these two options. And one is for X-Design for Makers, and others for 3D Experience Solidworks for Makers. And the difference really is that this one is locally installed on your desktop. It has some different features, whereas this is all cloud-based. So for this little tutorial, we'll have a look at this option here. So you might be asking yourself, why do I need SolidWorks? Why can't I just use any of the free other CAD programs? And of course, you're free to do so, but I find that working with SolidWorks, it gives you way more freedom to design in context. And what I mean by that is that if you have an assembly, for instance, and you're designing some parts, the new parts will be related to your assembly. And so you can create new parts in an assembly and you can kind of draft them up relative to the other parts, and it makes designing so much easier. So this is some examples of what you can do in SolidWorks, and it's really just a limitation of your ideas and competences and so on. You can really design anything in SolidWorks. And it has some really good integrations as well, such as with Altium and other interfaces. So yeah, and it's a good skill to be able to have if you are doing your own projects in your spare time as a maker and you want to actually start doing things for companies. Lots of companies use SolidWorks for more commercial designs. And once you learn how to use the SolidWorks for Makers, it's pretty seamless to go into the real SolidWorks, so to speak. So once you've gone through the ordering process and you've set up your 3D Experience account, you log back in. This is what it's going to look like. So under subscriptions, you'll see your active Maker package. And it's going to take a little bit of time for SolidWorks to set it up. For me, it was 5 minutes or so. But yeah, once it's all set up, it's going to look like this. And so you just proceed to access your platform with this button up here. And when you do, it's going to look like this. So this is your different apps that you can access. And to install on your computer, you can click Install here. And it'll come up with something called 3D Experience Launcher. So this is just an application for the computer to actually connect to the cloud system. So even though it's a local install, it's actually connecting to a cloud-based SolidWorks version there. So just a quick tip on how to access the portal through the browser if you forgot the name of it. So if you just go to my.solidworks.com, you'll see this page, and I might ask you to log in first. You just click Access Your Platform here. And then here you just click Maker Cloud. And it takes you through to your portal. And here you have it. So another thing I want to show you is that SolidWorks actually gives you some cloud space, like a kind of basic PDM system, which is really useful when you want to synchronize your work between machines, or you have someone you're working with and you want to share your files in a way that's like controlled. So in your dashboard here, you just go up to Content, and you'll see here there's something called Collaborative Spaces over here. By default, you'll have a common space. This is one I just created now for testing. Yeah, once you create your spaces in here, they'll also be visible in your actual SolidWorks, and you can save files and so on. And in the collaborative space, you can add content, add members, or customize it as you like. And as I said, this is really useful if you want to like work together with someone, or you want to share files and so on. Or you just want to have a backup between machines and so on. So now that you have the SolidWorks Connected installed, you can also find it under the Start menu by just writing SolidWorks Connected, and it'll come up like an app shortcut like this. So now that we have SolidWorks installed, let's have a quick look around. So at first glance, it looks very similar to the full SolidWorks. So I've been working with SolidWorks for more than 10 years, and so far the difference I see is that it says Maker here, and that it's connecting up here to 3D Experience, so it's obviously cloud connected. So now that we have it all set up, let's try to make a little example part and go through the system and see how it works. And we'll also have a look at Solidworks Visualize, which can make renders for you. So yeah, let's try to draft something here. Got a nice little dice. So over here on the right, you'll notice there's a 3D Experience panel there. And that's, you can open this up like this, and you can keep it pinned if you want. And this connects to your online workspace, as we looked at before. So remember how I showed you that there was a collaborative space. So if you go up here and click settings, you'll actually see your different collaborative spaces there. And you can just change them like this. So to save this to the collaborative workspace, you just go up here and click Save to 3D Experience. And it'll go through and synchronize. And once it does, you'll be able to give it a new name here. So we'll just call it Cube Test. And we'll just click Save. And so once it's saved, you can see that it's now got a green tick here. It is uploaded to the collaborative workspace, and it's got a revision number, and it's the latest revision that it says. So other people that might be working in your same space, they can check this out and then start working on it, and you'll be able to see that, that they're working on it. So now if you go back to the 3D Experience dashboard, let's see if we can find our file. So go over here in the apps. If you go into 3D space, this is where your collaborative spaces are. And you can see here we have the full stack products and the common space, and there it is, Cube Test. So this also has a 3D viewer, a 3D navigator built into it. So you can go in here and look at your files and so on. And there's even a comment section and so on. So another way to work with the 3D Experience Cloud is to go in here and create a new file and just create it directly on the cloud. So I just clicked on Advanced here in the Open New Document, and it brings up these two tabs. So these are just your standard SolidWorks templates, but this is the 3D Experience template. So this will create a 3D Experience part directly. So let's try Cube Test 2. Cube Test 2. Here we can draw up a new cube. Testing. Change it into inches instead. So that's something you can configure in. Let's have a quick look at that, how you configure that. Options, document properties, units. So it's in inches, pounds, seconds there. We want millimeter, gram, seconds there. And if you don't want to have to change that every time, you can actually save, go and open a new document, change the units, and save that as a new template. That's your default template. We'll just run the corners real quick. There, and then all I need to do now is just to save 3D Experience. And we just need to lock them and save. So the locking feature you just saw there, it's basically so if you have multiple people working on the same thing, each person can lock it and work on it, so the others can't override it, so to speak. And there we go. We can see that it's synchronized. And now again, if you want to check that it's on the cloud here, We go into 3D space. And full stack products, and we'll see there cube test 2. So that's how you work with parts like locally and on the cloud with 3D Experience. Now we'll go on to look at rendering. So again, return to your 3D Experience dashboard. If you go up and click on the roles and apps up here, navigate down to Solidworks Visualize. You can open it through here. If you want to just quickly open it, you can also search up here and open it through there. So once Visualize tries to launch, it'll just ask you for which collaborative space you want to work in, and you just click whichever you want. So once you open SolidWorks Visualize Connected, this is what it's going to look like. Now I had some issues loading in SolidWorks 3D Experience. I think it's a software bug, but I was able to use Visualize anyway. So I'll just go through that and show you just the basics of how to use it. I've drawn up this electrical cabinet before, and I'll use that as an example. So you'll notice when it first loads in, it looks fairly basic. And that's because it just uses the materials that come from SolidWorks, as well as the backplate and so on. But all that we can basically change in SolidWorks Visualize. SolidWorks Visualize has its own library of appearances and backgrounds and environment, so on, and we'll make use of that to get a really realistic looking model going. But first, let's have a look at the overall setup of Visualize. So up here in the top, you have this menu bar, and this just basically selects between configurations of your SolidWorks file. And this selects which level of detail you want to view the model in the viewport here while you're working with it. Green is the most basic, and accurate is basically trying to render the model. So when we're just setting it up, we'll use the basic preview here. And as we get to working with materials, we'll put it on accurate so we can actually see what that looks like. Here you have a rotating table. So if you're doing like a turntable animation, this is what it's going to look like, and you configure it here. So when you render it, it'll work like that. This is your selection tool. So in SolidWorks Visualize, the selection of parts works a little bit different than it does in SolidWorks. Here you have model, or parts, or groups, or appearances. So like you can select a part, or you can select an appearance, and it actually selects, all the parts that have that appearance. And likewise with the groups and model, it'll select the whole model. So if you, for instance, had multiple models, that's how you select them. Here you just have some manipulation tools. So if you select this, you can basically move it in your scene. So that's how you do that. And this is your rotation tool. So that's pretty much just like your mouse. You can zoom in and out and so on. And here are preset viewpoints, just like in SolidWorks pretty much. And this button here is your final kind of render wizard. So once you're ready to render, there's different options to basically set that up. But we'll get back to that when we have set this up. In the bottom here, you have a toolbar that just displays the current settings. If we go into accurate here, you'll see here there's the basically rendering target for the preview. So if I set this to 1000 passes, that's going to take a fair bit longer to actually get to a represented view than if I just select 500, for instance. Between 500 and 300 will get you in the general ballpark. And then for detailed work, you can always put that number up. And this is the resolution of your backplate. If you want to change the resolution of your viewpoint here, you go up to Tools, Options, 3D Viewport. And if you scroll down here, you have like a maximum resolution. So I like to put it up so that I can see what I'm doing, but it'll slow down your computer a fair bit, obviously. So you can adjust it. If it's getting slow, you can make this smaller. Okay, now let's try to set up the model so it actually looks all right. So the first thing I would do is just to change the backplate. So you go up here in the library, and here, if you go into the plates, you have different plates here, and you can also click Cloud, and it'll download some more assets for you. I usually just go with the studios for basic setup. So let's just take like a soft studio like this. We just pull that over, and you see that's already much better. Actually looks like it's inside a studio. So now I think the materials look a bit dull and so on, so let's play with the materials. So we're going to appearances in the library. And this is plastic here in the front. We'll go into plastic. And we'll say it's like it's a high gloss. And we'll get this one. And we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty good so far. You can also try with a dark gray. I like the black better. Change the backplate as well. And on the bottom here we have some rubber feet. So I'll go back to, I'll click there to go back. And let's go into rubber. Matte rubber. So you just drag and drop the materials where you want them. You see as I'm passing my cursor over, it'll try to select that part. So just be careful when you release it that you get it on the right part, but obviously you can just press Control Z if it's not right. So now let's look at the metal here. So go into metals, and we'll take an aluminium. Let's take a brushed aluminium. Brushed aluminium. There. That's burnished, so this will be brushed. So you see it's quite rough, this texture here on the top. And the way you can change that is go up here and click your appearances. Click on the appearance, and it will take you to the appearance over here. And here you have some texture mapping options, texture. So this is the depth of the actual like grooves, so to speak. And this one, you have like a brushed normal for the texture. So that's actually the way that the kind of brush strokes look like. That's in this PNG file. And this is your tile size. So if you bring this value up, you see that the increase in size. So it's starting to look a bit more normal. Let's say 15. So still looking a bit rough. Let's try 20. So it's a little bit hard to see now, and that's because the scene is not set up properly with its lighting. So the next thing we could do now is to go up here and set the environments. So here you have some environments that basically the model will reflect, kind of. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's try to get a few different ones. So let's try this California desert. So you see now the color of the metal has changed completely. It's reflecting the sky of this HDR and the desert. And let's try the studio. Completely different again. And this again, sky blue. So Select the environment that's most appropriate for your model. That would be my recommendation. In this case, I'm just looking for a kind of like a studio situation. So we can take something like that, a blurred studio, and we're getting pretty close. So that's basically the basics of using Visualize. There's lots of other stuff here you can play with. But let's take this as an example. We want to render it. So just go up here and click Image, and we'll do a Full HD. And include alpha, it basically means that it won't include the background and it'll make a transparent background PNG. So that's quite useful if you want to make something nice looking on some presentation or something. So you just click that and it'll remove the background. Just keep in mind when you do this that it'll still take the shadow catcher. So if you don't want the shadow, that's another thing you can have a look at. So you go into your environment here. Blurred Studio is what I've selected now, and there's something called under Advanced Ground Shadow Catcher. Just disable that one, and you see now the shadow is gone. So let's try to actually render this as a include alpha. And now here you can select your quality. So obviously you should render, which is the accurate, and try to go for, I would say, if you can, 5,000, but you can also play with this to see how you get the best result. I find that if you have transparent parts and lots of ray tracing, you need a lot of passes to make it look nice. And if it's fairly simple like this, even like 2,000 could probably do. Here you can select which specific layers to actually render. And now the render is complete. And this is what it looks like. So that concludes this video on how to use Solidworks Maker for your projects. It's a really good opportunity to actually use some professional software for your projects. And if you install this, you'll also be able to follow along in my future product design videos. So I intend to design products from scratch pretty much, and that includes mechanical design, electrical design, software. And we'll be starting off with some fairly simple projects, such as like lamps and so on, but we might move on to flight simulators and other projects. So I'm new on YouTube, and this is going to be my first video, but I really hope that you would like to follow along. And if you want to, please subscribe and like this video to support my channel. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one.